Good morning. One was asked, can you describe that process of awakening / enlightenment so that we understand it with no highfalutin avoidance of using a mind of information and descriptive methods. Can you describe it as if it was physical, so that we can understand it in our informative, educational language ways? So here it is. I took time to try and sit with this. As I was recalled this person. What we do in our life is we collect objects, we collect information, we collect imaginations, we collect all types of what we call religious information, knowledge, ways, practices, scientific, all these things. I don't have to go through everything. We collect everything in our computer, in our brain, in our hard drive. And awakening is when you start removing the apps without knowing it. You see? When there's a knower knowing it, it can walk into the room and say, right, I'm not getting rid of that because that's my favorite lamp. I'm not getting rid of my bed. I'm not sleeping on the floor. I'm not primitive. So when there's a knowing, there's an idea that something doesn't fully want to clean up and remove so that the computer can start again. So awakening is when these, let's say, items in the room have been removed, okay? All the thoughts, let's look at it physically. Speaker's trying to, so, I'm not looking at it personally right now. I'm looking at it as if I want a fresh start. So I want to get rid of everything in my room. I want to get rid of my bed, but I'm not aware that I'm getting rid of these objects. I am decluttering the room without knowing it. And every item that I remove without knowing it is being placed on a fire. And the fire is not lit. So you're making a subconscious bonfire of all this stuff. And eventually, again, without knowing it, everything in your room, everything outside of your room, every object, every material, your car, your home, everything is placed on this fire. And then something in you says, I don't know what I'm doing. I've had enough. And you light the fire. Now you realize that you've removed everything. Instead of taking it all back, oh, I like that. Now your mind is alive and says, no, why did I build this? Why did I put all my objects on this fire? Right, you have the choice to take some of these objects back or all the objects back. Or you can light the fire. And when you light the fire, you realize that it's a kind of negative thing that you've done. And so you punish yourself and you jump on the fire. You jump on the fire, and this is awakening. The awakening is not the jumping on the fire. It's the realization, the shock, that horror of that heat, that feeling of anger, stupidity, foolishness. But it's too late. You've jumped on the fire. The fire is lit. And everything begins to burn. And when you know, as you know in a fire, when things burn, they form some sort of black ash that disappears or breaks up into the atmosphere. And suddenly there's this pure white piece of paper that rises from the fire with no marks, no burns, no scalding. You have no idea that this is happening. And this beautiful piece of white, pure paper, like every other object, descends. And it descends and descends and descends. And it lands on the still lake. And it stays there, slowly collecting water. And then it begins to descend again. Beautiful, slow, descending, down and down. Until that what is descending is just descending. There's no you. There's just this feeling of descending. Into the silent, into the depth, into the core. And after many, many months, years of descending, it appears to be disappearing. And then suddenly, an arm reaches into the ocean, right down, picks up this wet, scrunching, this piece of paper, pulling it up, 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 out of the ocean and hangs it up in the washing line with 2 pegs. And then the sun comes out, and then the wind comes, and it begins to dry, and it begins to see around it. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And this piece of paper turns into a form, a body. And suddenly one day, it wants down. It undoes the pegs and jumps, this time descending and bending its knees and crashing on the ground and springing back up. It starts running around. It starts dancing. It starts singing. It starts crying. It starts laughing. It's alive. The piece of paper is you. The piece of paper is the real you that cannot be burnt, cannot be touched, because it's protected by this big hand in this occasion. You can listen to this again and realize that it's not about the materialistic things. These are thoughts, these are imaginations, these are ideas, these are concepts, these are names, these are identities, these are this information, the fire of information, the ego that has gathered itself around you, suffocating you until you have become free. But the descending is not so good, because if the hand did not save you, you would have never came back. That's the dangers of enlightenment, the dangers of non-duality and feeling so blissful. Something saves you. And what is the whole reason, the moral, the need to experience awakening and enlightenment? Why did this happen? Why did you go through this? Because when you jump down from the rope and realize that you've been born, and this is another opportunity, and you really look at this life and you say, wow, I don't need any of that stuff in that room. I just need my legs and my eyes and my emotional body and my senses and the sun and the planet and the nature, and everything is perfect as that way. You fall into a trap and you get another job again and you go through the same motions of paying the bills and you bring things back into your house, but they're not the same. They're just stuff. It's just stuff. But the true purpose is to realize that you are not the one running around. You are not the piece of paper alone. You are the one that pulled yourself out of that possible dissolution, that possible end. Because that arm, that hand that grabbed you, that saved you, that shock that U.G. Krishnamurti speaks about, Eckhart Tolle speaks about, and the speaker has experienced, that shock to bring you back to life, has things to do. It's not your time. You have things to do, things to see. You have not lived your life out the way you were meant to be. You have to live your life out like you're free, like you are this piece of paper turned into a body, pure, with legs running around, swimming, dancing, playing, laughing. You're not the one running around alone. You're the one that pulled yourself out, watching and observing. I am this body, I see this body, but something observes it, something that I am pure. this consciousness. Some call it spirit. What was conveyed to this one was consciousness. I am consciousness with a conscious little body that is here to play and love and see and relate and like the opportunity of being alive. That's all that matters, is that you're alive. You breathe, you're free. When you see this descent, you don't want to come back up from this descent. But what happens is you take the descent with you. You're always descending, always transcending, always happy, always pure. Just that you develop stuff, apps that appear to keep you prisoner. But you're never a prisoner. You don't need awakening and enlightenment. That descent is always with you. It was never rediscovered. It's just that you ignored it. I ignored what I truly was here for, thinking I was just a puppet on a string. And the body appears to be that puppet on the string, but the puppeteer pulls it out, and the puppeteer is you. The real you. The spirit you, the conscious you. The soulful you. That we stop relating to. We try to believe it back into existence. And it's the belief that holds you back, because the belief means you don't know that you are it now. This one moment is here and now. This one moment is the descending, the ascending, the transcending with no ending. And that's the discovery. Namaste.